This is the Orioles POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
When it rains, it pours. And today was cloudy with a chance of yikes. Now that's what I call yikes. An embarrassing watch. One that in a comedy of errors you laugh at and you take in. You let yourself get distracted by it, maybe over Easter dinner. But thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. So we're talking about a 24-2 loss at the hands of the Cincinnati Reds. Baltimore drops the series to Cincinnati in unfathomable fashion. Right-hander Charlie Morton starts, have O's fans feeling a little bit salty. They were behind the 8-ball seemingly from the start. That would have been the turning point of this game. But for right now, you bask in this. I don't want to laugh at this the entire time. I want to be respectful of your time and mine. Thank you for joining me on this Easter Sunday. But so many things went wrong, from having to go to Jorge Mateo, giving up a grand slam to Noelvi Marte, to Austin Wynns, former Oriole coming back going 6 for 7, something that Pete Rose never did, something that Johnny Bench never did. I ask you, what do you do when it all falls apart? That's what we're talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Charlie Morton's got to go to the bullpen. I've seen this story several times throughout Major League Baseball history, and it does not end well. 41-year-old signs a 1-year deal with Baltimore, and probably against his better judgment. When someone talks about or flirts with retirement and is leaning on sitting out a year or not signing with the team, whoever they latch on with late in the spring or around the time spring training kicks off, it doesn't seem like it's going to end well. The Orioles are searching for answers on this pitching staff in this rotation. They are near the bottom of the league in ERA and starters ERA. Walks lately have killed them. 11 today, and yes, I know, about 3 or 4 of those were from Jorge Mateo and Gary Sanchez. Sanchez, by the way, probably the best pitcher today. Cionel Perez, maybe. And Charlie Morton set the tone early, walking 4 of them. In the first inning, there was no curveball command. Had thrown 9 curveballs, 1 of them for a strike. Fastball was missing as well. Walked 2 batters, was somehow able to get out of the inning because Gavin Lux grounded out, former Tulsa Driller legend and Dodger himself. Second inning, gave up an RBI single to Austin Wynns, 1-0 game, but again, able to get McLean striking out to end the inning. You're thinking, cool, 1-run deficit, stop the bleeding at that. And then the Orioles come back. Ramon Urias gets lucky on a fielding error, a low throw. The run's able to score. Jordan Westburg tie up the game 1-1. Third inning, as we have seen with every starting pitcher not named Zach Eflin this year, when something goes by the wayside or a mistake is made, it just piles on and snowballs. First 5 batters reaching the top of the third. Starts with Ellie De La Cruz getting a high fastball grooved up in the 92, 93 range and makes it 2-1 Reds, hitting it over the right field wall. And then the comedy of errors. Hayes singles, Gavin Lux walks, Spencer Steer singles to load the bases. And then just pestering. Jake Fraley hits a floater to right field and 2 more runs score. Morton does some damage to himself, tries to make a pickoff throw, inexplicably down 3 runs to try to get out of the jam. Throw goes wild, another run scores. And by the time Morton leaves, he's responsible for a runner on base, and it's 6-1. The Boo Birds at Camden Yards are out in full force. I want to thank you again for joining me here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. My name is Luke Slaybaugh, your post-game show host. Every single game, including this Easter Sunday, 24-2. the loss to the Reds. We're going to have a whole segment about right-hander Cody Poteet and what he could bring to this team, but we saw it. Was acquired from the Cubs for basically nothing after they got him for Cody Bellinger from the Yankees. And when Poteet got in, things continued to snowball, starting with what could have been a catchable ball by Ryan O'Hearn out in right field, ended up being a double for TJ Friedl. Then what was originally ruled a fielding error on O'Hearn was then changed to a triple, but another run scored from first, made it 7-1. McLean singles again, makes it 8-1. All in all, a 7-run inning. On the topic of Charlie Morton and probably what we will see out of Kyle Gibson as well when he comes back from AAA Norfolk, I believe rehabbing, getting a start in with Aberdeen this weekend, is not knowing when to hang it up and not knowing where you're best served at this stage in your career. If you've got something you need to figure out, whether it's pitch grip, command, mechanics, you can do that, but not while you're starting a game for a team. To put them this far behind the 8 ball in a game that after 2 frames was winnable and within grasp, it's doing a service to no one. And we've seen this from the greats to the more obscure pitchers in baseball. Steve Carlton stayed around 3 years too long. Orel Hershiser, Greg Maddux, several years too long. Kerry Wood shelled before deciding to hang it up in 2012. 10 curveballs going into this game allowed for hits. That was supposed to be his signature pitch. Uncle Charlie has had that be anything but. O's pitching has not been able to get hitters out or even befuddle hitters. Second lowest strikeout rate in baseball, and the walk rate continues to climb. It was in the middle of the pack, but today is going to do them no favors. 18.7% strikeout rate is only above the Colorado Rockies, and that is a whole other story. Can attribute this to a lack of command from their pitchers, obviously, but also a lack of put-away pitches. What is Charlie Morton's? I beg you to answer. Morton figured to be probably a 4 or a 5. This is not his fault that he is being put in the situation where he has to burden the load for a rotation that's understocked. I would also challenge GM Michael Elias in the front office as well that the acquisitions made over the offseason, we've all talked about this for weeks, but continually depth pieces, 5s, swingmen. They are not the answer to this problem. However, it is better to give this opportunity that would be Charlie Morton's to a Brandon Young. He did not pitch great yesterday in his major league debut, but he did keep the team in the game, and he got better progressively as the game went along. 4 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, obviously jittering a little bit in his first major league start. I would argue that there is more upside in a 26-year-old junior college than University of Louisiana product who's 26 and doesn't have electric stuff, rather than someone who might still have it at 41. Cameron Weston down in AAA has hit 95 in Norfolk. Thaddeus Ward, and eventually Kyle Gibson. But again, Gibson is still ramping up at 37. I don't necessarily care what he did 2 years ago in an Orioles uniform. What have you done for me lately? The refrain is yes, the horses will be coming. Chase McDermott progressing from his lat injury. Trevor Rogers also going to face live hitters in Sarasota next week. That's per Jake Rill, team reporter at MLB.com. And then Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish later this summer. Grayson Rodriguez, maybe after the Avengers movie comes out. Cody Poteet was called up as Brandon Young was sent back down. Anticipation, of course. Manager Brandon Hyde said something to the media after yesterday's game. Man, we need Charlie Morton. Come on, Charlie. Go for us as long as you can. Nope. Morton goes 2 1/3, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts in that home run to Ellie De La Cruz. Cody Petit had to take one for the team, pitch until his arm fell off, and he was shelled as well. The Reds found gaps, had hard contact off of a fastball that was sitting 91, 92, maxed out at 94. 2 2/3 for Cody, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 hits, and a strikeout. Well, I'm going to let you marinate and maybe let me know how your Easter's going. Leave a comment down here if you're watching live on YouTube. Thank you for joining me on this Easter Sunday as we talk about this 24-2 blasting at the hands of the Cincinnati Reds. My name is Luke Slaybaugh. This is the Orioles Postcast. Connor Newcomb still runs the main show 5 days a week. He will bring his thoughts tomorrow. Coming up, there's not really much to talk about on the offensive front. It's 24-2, man. I don't know what you want me to do. But I'm going to, as you see the third bullet point here on the stream, why don't we put this in a broader context? It's one game. There's so much volatility here. It's a night and day Jekyll and Hyde type of team. There's some good and there's some bad out of this series. But as I have said, this homestand for me was going to be an indicator of what this team could do in the aggregate. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today on this Easter Sunday, and that's Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Mike Elias gave it to someone older than me. Dining out, online shopping, entertainment, you can lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes into play. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Oof. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. You can track shared and personal accounts. If you want to share it with your partner, you can set goals, stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's all one word, LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Home stretch, folks. Thank you for joining me here on this Easter Sunday. My name is Luke Slaybaugh. I do the Baltimore Orioles postcast here on the Locked On Orioles podcast and the Locked On Podcast Network. Plate approach, inconsistent. Orioles worked up left-hander Brent Suter to meh results. They got that one run off the fielding error, the throwing error in the bottom of the second. Ian Jabode, they worked some counts on, and Randy Wynn later couldn't string things together. Adley Rutschman had a late home run in what is essentially garbage time, but you can't wave the white flag in baseball. Adley's approach at the plate had not bothered me. He was still walking at a 12% or higher clip. He was seeing the ball well, just getting unlucky. It wasn't a Jordan Westburg type scenario where it was 0 for 30, no apparent injury. What are we doing? Had to figure it out between the ears. And eventually he did. Had a double today as well. Jackson Holliday walked twice. Do you believe in miracles? Unto us, Jackson Holliday has started to refine his approach at the plate. And that's because he was given exposure to different looks from different pitchers in this blowout 24-2 loss. And that's all I have to say about that. So now what? Homestand ends 4-4, and the Orioles only eke out one series win against the Cleveland Guardians. But going into this game, they had a +2 run differential. And again, we're still in April, so it is a young season, but we're starting to get a taste of what this team will do in the broader stretch of this 162 game season. They fall to 9-12 today. And going into today, +2 and a couple games under 500, I believe the analytics would point out they're all right. They can slug with the best of them. 5 home runs yesterday. And when they slug with the best of them, they can compete. with the Yankees, with the powers that be. When they don't, you have to cross your fingers for good starts. Expected win percentage had the Orioles as a 500 team today. Now, baseball is a fickle and funny game because now that run differential is going to be minus 20 after a 24-2 blowout loss to the Cincinnati Reds. There's such volatility on this team, which leads to the highs and to the lows. And today is where it all came crashing down. They didn't have any pitching. They had to bring up Cody Petit out of desperation and then let Jorge Mateo and Gary Sanchez try to salvage this bad boy. Spoiler alert, they did not. Over the course of a 162 game season, are things going to deviate for better or for worse? At their best and on their good days, they're competitive in the AL East. The Rays are struggling right now. The Red Sox have had mixed results. The Jays and the Yankees are reinvigorated. Left-hander Max Fried had a no-hit bid today, just eked out. And the Rays were able to get that fixed retroactively by a scoring decision. When life hands you lemons, what are you going to do? What do you do when you have multiple starters where you're crossing your fingers and grinding your teeth? It's not the makings of a postseason roster right now. And there is no top of the line starter here. What do you do? It's going to be roster management. Don't think there's going to be a big splash move in early May or Memorial Day or even the 4th of July. And by that point, it may be a moot point. I'll let you leave some comments here if you're watching here on the replay here on YouTube or listening on the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you for joining me here on this Easter Sunday. My name is Luke Slaybaugh, and it's kind of depressing and deflating. I feel like we've run out of talking points about this team. It's concerning the rate at which even the main pitchers, your CNL Perez's, your Charlie Mortons, are walking people. Tomorrow is probably the most needed off day that this team has had in a while. And that's saying something because we've had some deflating series finales. And then it's the Beltway series. They're going to stick in the DMV, go down to Navy Yard, play the Washington Nationals. And first night, it's going to be two pitchers who have had wildly different seasons. Dean Kramer's coming off his best outing, but has been inconsistent, going up against Mitchell Parker. Tomoyuki Sagano expected to start the middle game, and then Cade Povich, the series finale. Coming up on about 18 minutes here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. Peyton comments on YouTube, laid an egg is a horrific understatement. What would you rather say? I'm trying to keep things civil. Beanie on YouTube has a very dark forecast with the Nats throwing two lefties. Yvonne Boisier, Yvonne, a French name, perhaps, says, I just came here to commiserate and cry. James Reckling, also commiserating here on YouTube, says, this is a last place team. Plain and simple, Elias has totally failed. Lee Smith comments that Morton was willing to hang it up, but Elias was insane enough to pull him out of retirement and make him the second highest paid player on the team. Tom Keating says, Luke, do you think Reds continuing to score was Bush League or nothing else they could do? I don't think it's Bush League. I think that this is a game that is highly analytical, and you will be judged not just by the content of your character, but how you look on paper. Baseball, and by default, I guess, football and basketball as well, playoffs going on right now. You are based not just on the content of the character, but how you look on paper. And if I am Austin Wins and I'm a backup catcher, you need this to your name and to your credit. There's nothing wrong with what the Reds did today. Now, I think that their team, Terry Francona, their manager, did a good job pulling Ellie De La Cruz late, giving some people some breathers who needed it. But this is a Sunday game. Like Jose Trevino wasn't going to get action behind the plate, which, by the way, he hit the cover off the ball in this series. He was hitting 8 or 9. Trevino's okay. He went to Oral Roberts. He was not like this high prospect, high upside player. But Wins in particular, I've seen a lot of comments here in the chat, did about as much today at the plate as he produced in an Orioles uniform. Just another quantum wave function comments on YouTube. Sad bird noises. We'll take a look through the comments here on YouTube as we're wrapping things up here. 24-2, the final score. There was a comment at 2:40 from Rapton Sports that says you can start the show now. The game is over. And I thought that was entertaining. But for legal reasons, I could not do that. Peyton comments, Gary Sanchez was pitching, and it kind of made the day better. The dude has a sense of humor about it. It was quite good. Shaking off Adley Rutschman 4 times in a row. There is no pitch calm. So it kind of makes sense. But to believe that there was an arsenal there that Gary Sanchez had, I would like catchers to rifle the ball. Like, you've got the gun, you've got the pop time, and they weren't going to be calling balks. Like, he was not coming set. But I saw the upside there in the cannon. You also want to protect the arm. And Sanchez, seems like a good teammate, at least to Adley and to the rest of them. I'm not expecting him to play hero at the plate or even as a game caller, but to at least spell Adley twice a week. You could do a lot worse. We are seeing a catching resurgence in baseball, though. Look at what the Cardinals and the Cubs catchers are doing, just hit cover off the ball. Nehemiah Lockett, with the final comment of the day, is how we all feel. And he says, this is awful. And it is. So I will see you Tuesday night. Hopefully going to rest and relax. I hope you had great Easter plans, dinner with your families, perhaps, spending time with people who matter the most, and taking in any form of baseball is always good. We might not always have it. I'm happy that you continue to support the show. Leave a comment if you're watching or listening. Let us know what you think about the show, anything that you would change, anything that you would like us to cover in the future. Again, you support this show. By proxy, you are supporting the main show and Connors as well. We're trying to do our best over here. So thank you for sticking with me on this Easter Sunday. I'm going to eat. Final score, Cincinnati Reds 24, Baltimore Orioles 2. Thank you for listening and watching on the Locked On Podcast Network. Good night.